global warming real? The answer is most likely yes, but it's important rather than just simply accepting that it's real to understand why it's real. The Committee on Climate Change, a nationally recognized and internationally recognized foundation, is the leading researcher in climate change and climate change prevention, has stated that something called the natural cycle exists. What the natural cycle is the natural heating and cooling of the Earth. At sometimes the Earth is colder, at sometimes it's warmer, as can be seen by this graph here, ranging from ice ages to periods of prolonged heat. However, over time, something like this begins to happen, where this was the previous ice age, so along mammoths, and up to here. And as you can see, it's hard to see it actually, but it's a little bit more prolonged than usual. This is actually a very significant problem, because what happens when it's supposed to go back down, but it just keeps going back up. And that's what we're here to discuss today, the idea of global warming. We have done extensive research using facilities such as NASA and the aforementioned Committee on Climate Change, as well as sources such as Open Source Sciences, to come to you guys to inform you about how this national and international phenomenon and crisis is affecting everyone here and what we as a group can do. Climate change is a prevalent problem and it needs to be solved. First, my friend Ethan is going to talk about why it's happening. Then my friend Noah is going to tell us some of the adverse effects of what's going on. And my friend Tori is going to tell us some of the things we can do. I'll hand this off to Ethan.
Thanks, Matt. As you just said, I'm going to tell you a bit about global warming and its main cause, which is the greenhouse effect. Global temperatures of our planet are reaching higher and higher record numbers every year, and most climate scientists, according to NASA.gov, agree that the main cause is the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is a scientific theory which involves four main gases that trap heat in our atmosphere. These four main gases are water vapor, methane, nitrous oxide, and carbon dioxide. But the main greenhouse gas that has been giving us problems in recent years is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide has been released in unprecedented amounts since the Industrial Revolution began. And since that point, the amount of CO2 in our atmosphere has increased by 1/3. This unnaturally high amount of CO2 has caused the greenhouse gas cycle to go out of whack, way more than what is natural. And I'm going to explain the greenhouse gas cycle as it normally should be. Normally, solar radiation from the sun enters into our atmosphere, where it passes through the Earth's atmosphere and it is absorbed by the greenhouse gases. Then it is re-emitted back into space, and a much less amount is re-emitted down onto the surface of the Earth. But due to the high amount of CO2, more and more is being re-emitted down onto the surface instead of back up into space, causing increased global temperatures. These global temperatures are disrupting temperatures in the poles, which is causing a lot of the ice there to start melting. Normally this would be bad enough, as when all the ice melts, many major global cities would be flooded and a lot of our landmass would be consumed by the oceans. But glacial ice also contains substantial amounts of carbon. And as more ice melts, more carbon dioxide will eventually be released into the atmosphere. And this will cause global temperatures to start increasing exponentially faster. And now that you have a better understanding of the greenhouse effect and the dangers behind the science of global warming, I'm going to pass it off to my friend Noah.
Thank you so very much, Ethan, for that wonderful introduction. There are a lot of harmful effects that global warming can have on the environment. Other than the temperature continuing to rise, which doesn't seem too bad right now, the droughts and heat waves will be much more intense, which could potentially be tough on farmers or people that depend on the land as a source of food or income. According to NASA.gov, hurricanes can become a lot more frequent, and the severity would be a lot worse. Heating up of the environment would cause the ocean to heat up as well, which would then give off energy, which therefore could create a hurricane. The amount of rain some places next to the water could also increase greatly due to the increased amounts of evaporation. Another negative effect is that sea levels could rise anywhere from 1 to 4 feet due to the melting of big ice masses such as glaciers and land ice. This could cause difficulties for houses or businesses next to the water. One of the most alarming problems is that eventually the Arctic could get so warm that all the ice would melt, and that could have some pretty big consequences for any animals living there right now. The US is currently experiencing some effects of global warming as we speak. The big wildfires going on in California right now are partly from the effects of global warming, how dry it has made the environment. Most of California is also in a moderate to severe drought, and now have to monitor how much water they use so they don't use too much. The rise in heat also has a correlation with higher death rates, says M. Denchak from NRDS.org. Elderly people and lower income families that can't afford air conditioning have a much higher chance of suffering from a heat stroke or heat exhaustion. According to dripdrop.com, a site dedicated to preventing heat-related illness, out of all the heat-related deaths in the US, the percentage of them being from elderly people has gone up to about 40%. Global warming is also being caused by the higher rates of air pollution and can cause health problems around the world. Now that we have identified some of the adverse effects of global warming, here is Tori to talk about what we can do to help this problem.
All right, thank you for that, Noah. Well, as explained by Ethan and Noah, global warming has a big impact on the environment. But before I get into some solutions, I'd like to share a quote from Vincent van Gogh that I feel is related to this. He said, "Great things are done by a series of small things brought together." With that being said, to help this harmful pollution from hurting the environment even more than it already has, we need to be better educated on how we can prevent greenhouse gases as best we can. EnvironmentAmerica.org talked about how we can prevent the use of fossil fuels by limiting the use of oil, coal, and gases. We can also prevent deforestation by stop cutting down the trees that help clean the air that we breathe. Also, as clean cars begin to be bigger and bigger in our society, we can all use those to help prevent the gases that we bring into the environment. ScientificAmerica.com lists ways we can do, like us as people can do every day to help limit climate change. Some small things we can do is cut back on what we buy, like not buying water bottles anymore and just drinking out of reusable ones. Or when buying a new car, we can look into the fuel economy and make sure it gets good gas mileage. Also, we can unplug things that we aren't using, not only to save on electric for us, but also the electricity that we use burns fossil fuels, and we can cut back on that. With that being said, there are still many things that we can do to help save our environment. If we all start doing little things, we each can make a big difference in global warming. It all starts with us. And back to Matt.
Okay. So there is a bottom line to be drawn from all of this. This is a very real problem. Warming has persisted to be a very real problem for a very long time now. And it's time that we as a society came together and began to do, not only just do something about it, but do more about it. We've shown you how the process happens, and we understand why it's beginning to do a snowball effect, sort of, and begin to spiral out of control. We know the adverse effects it can cause to health, the environment, ways people live, even to our own country and ourselves. And we've begun to show you that it doesn't take too much to begin to make a difference. Collectively, as all of us together, if we all begin to just make those tiny changes in our lives, those tiny changes become bigger changes. And just like global warming, how global warming has begun to spiral out of control, these changes that we make can spiral out of control and become a force that will last forever. Global warming is a real problem, but these are some real solutions.